Welcome, survivors, burnout community, and those just interested. It's Kelly Booboltz, trainer, author, speaker, and your burnout prevention mentor. Burnout is not taboo. It's our reality in this chaotic, fast-paced world. But we're not going to let it drive the narrative to our stories. We're going to do something about it. So let's dig in. In this episode, we've now built up productivity boosts, the little tools beyond the basics that we can do to optimize productivity so we can gain space to change and innovate and think. We're not going to fill it with more noise, more tasks, more activities. We're going to utilize this space to lead the change. Then we looked at, in the second session, refreshing our talent planning. Are we building teams that are adaptable, agile teams, or are we still looking for the old skill sets that we used to? So go check out that video if you're interested in learning more there. In this one, we're going to be talking about the path to progress. So these are the tools and strategies that you can start using to drive change, to get people on board. And sometimes we just do things and expect people to follow, but you have to remember that there's a lot of factors changing around our world right now. And so one individual doesn't just have the software change at work. They might have changes at home. They might have team changes. They might be dealing with turnover in their department. There's so many other variables going on that it's becoming chaotic. And that's why more and more people are burning out. So when we talk about burnout prevention, when we talk about engagement and disengagement, when we talk about turnover and attracting top talent, these are all the factors that go into play. And when you look at them, it's doing things in a way that we wanted to do them, just in a different way. So let's dig into a few of these change management tools to create that path to progress. So the first one is going to be how are the behaviors predicted? So say you have a change going on in your organization, either a shift in your strategy or new software, or you're going to be switching out people's roles and reorganizing. What people's behaviors can you already predict? And what I mean is, using DISC behavioral science, you can already predict what someone might do in this change and get ahead of it, or already have a plan of action in place so you don't even have to stress them out in the first place because you've taken the proactive steps to make sure that they're not getting stressed. Let's go through a few behaviors that you may have already seen or could see through the DISC behaviors so that you can reroute them early on. In a D, these are a fast-paced dominant, or REDs, like I like to call them, and they're going to be very forceful and bold. They're going to be demanding, and they just want to get done. Just get it done. Just move on. Just check. And this is a stress behavior that comes out at a higher level for Ds, and we can shift that into a more proactive step in change management through understanding what are the delays and the pieces there, because they like to pinpoint people and maybe even do deflection and blame of why someone's holding it back, but there might be other factors in play. They might have a third-party service that isn't on their deadline. There might be data that is being gathered and it's being gathered incorrectly, so we need to stop and get that corrected. Understanding delays will help shift that into a more solution-based step than feeding that behavior of being bold and forceful to get things done. The other thing that Ds will want is a factor to control, or a variable to control. So in this change timeline, is there something that Ds can control, that they can dig into or investigate or create a relationship with this vendor? Because they're going to want to move stuff forward. So what pieces can you give them to have control of? And then the other thing they want to see is progress. They want to see action. So the more you can paint out abstract things into more visuals, into survey results, into the actual outcomes that you were looking for along the way, like, hey, look, our production numbers are going up, or our customer base and revenues going up. Whatever you can link to actual action will help these Ds or dominants move forward through change. Let's go through Is. Is are also fast-paced people, so they're going to want to see this change happen sooner than later. And you might see them as being overly optimistic, into a point where it's actually becoming kind of toxic, because we need to acknowledge some of the hurdles and challenges we're in right now. They might be super critical of others, like, well, they didn't do their job, and if they did that over there, we wouldn't be in this mess. So they might be slightly getting a little bit sarcastic and cynical. We can move this to a solution and a solution step by taking bite-sized breaks, because they just want to get it done. They want to see the end outcome, similar to D's. That if we can break it down to little milestones and little wins, it actually becomes like an adventure, a journey. And that's more of an I style or influence style. The other thing that they're going to want is a voice. They're going to want to talk about it, talk through all the intricacies that could happen, should happen, and giving them a voice or a space for that will get it out. The more that they keep in, the more it's going to come out in a more ugly way. And then you want a space for brainstorming solutions. What you want a space for all this to be brainstormed, a space to innovate across all the teams, but specific to I's, they're going to want to really talk through what does this look like and are we approaching it in the best manner. So giving them that space to brainstorm is going to be important. Now let's shift gears to our little bit slower methodical thinkers. And it doesn't mean that they're not putting out quality work. They just want time to research and think and digest. It's kind of like our reflectors. So S is our supportives or our greens, and their stress behaviors they don't want to change. It's not broken. Don't fix it. They might be stubborn. So they might be dragging it on, dragging the timeline on. They're the last ones to do the trial, the last ones to sign into the software. And then they might be judgmental of others because they're moving too fast or skipping steps or not taking time to really dig into why is this change happening and are we addressing all the gaps that are coming up. So they might be a little bit judgmental there. We want to move to more solution steps by having one-on-one conversations. S's do not like big group environments. They don't want to be put on display to talk about why they have these apprehensions. So we want to make sure that they have a small group, safe space to have these conversations about the concerns that they're having with this change. The other thing that they want to do when they're stubborn is they're stuck in their head and they're carrying all this baggage of maybe the last change that they went through that didn't go well. They're going through all the things that might change in their world that they don't want to change. So allowing them to bring in insights from others, especially other people in their work style, other S's, will get them on board to see that, okay, this isn't changing, just this over here. And this change actually will make my world better because we get to do that instead of reworking it over and over again. So bringing insights from others, especially in the same work style, is going to help them move forward. And then having genuine conversations about maybe where they should be, where they are stuck and where they need to go. Having genuine conversations about, as a leader, where you haven't been supporting them as much and where you're working towards a better relationship, a better supportive network with their team. Being really genuine about those conversations. Like, hey, you're right. We rolled out that change really fast and we didn't communicate it really well. So what information do you need? And then I'll be cognizant of that when we move to the next step to make sure everyone has the information, right? I'm being genuine that I made a mistake and we moved too fast. And now we can get things moving forward in a better manner, in the right way. I'll actually see this behavior come out a lot in change when a company goes through layoffs or restructuring, and people will hold on to this. They will hold on to this for a very long time. In their next employer, in their next position, they'll remember this moment in change management. So it's really important to have genuine discussions in the phases of change. Now, our last one, which is also methodical, they like to research, they like to dig in, is our C's. These are our compliance and our blues. They're detailed oriented. They really don't want to take the risk until they know all the intricacies of what's going on. So they might be seen as probing, overcautious, and then indecisive. Like, okay, I know we have to do this, but what else is out there? Or I know we have plan A, but B and C also look pretty good. So giving them some time and space to research and really gain information is going to help them move forward through change. Seek their input because they are the data analytical people. They are the detailed people. They might even identify gaps that are going to be clunky in your change timeline. So really hear them out and then include them in the planning, because if they have enough information and research behind them, they can be really big catalysts to get this moving forward once you have that buy-in. So you want to make sure that they're not the resistance because they can take a lot of people down with them. So you want to make sure that they're on board with the change, giving them information, letting them research it, letting them reflect on it, and then be part of that planning. And then make sure you're providing as much detailed information on why this change is needed, where we're going, and the milestone steps of how you're addressing some of the hurdles that you're going into. So knowing these work styles already in your team by taking the DISC behavioral science assessments is going to help you predict the behaviors you will see. And then when you see the behavior, you already know how to respond. So when I work with clients on change and leading the change, we will evaluate who's in their team and what work styles, because there's no wrong work style. You need all the work styles to be a thriving organization. But knowing these behaviors and addressing them in a proactive way will keep this change cycle moving forward. Keep this change cycle from this low point that everyone kind of is just hesitant to move forward. We're not producing much. We have a lot of resistance. It will get them to move up into performance, into energy, exploring and experimenting with this new world that they had to move into. So DISC predictives of behavior is going to be important in change management. The other one I want to show you today is a little spin on Eisenhower Matrix. So Eisenhower Matrix is a priority matrix, and it's out on my YouTube channel, 5-minute or less video on how do you prioritize based on urgency, based on importance. And you plug everything in. It only takes you a few minutes to plug all your tasks in every day, and that's what you do. You either do things or you schedule them out or you delegate them. And it's a really nice process when you're overwhelmed with to-do lists. But there's a spin that you can actually do on the Eisenhower Matrix based in change management. So certainly you can use it to set your priorities, but you can also do it based on urgency and energy. And we're going to go through an example, but urgencies on the left, a low and a high, and energies on the bottom, a low and a high. And let's go through a situation. So let's say we want to offer more flexible work, and there's going to be a lot of pieces in this change that we need to address because people have to communicate better, and we have to have better systems, and we need remote work setups, and we need better conversations between leaders and their teams so that we know what people are doing when they're at home. We might need different policies and compliance so that we know how to track work hours and pay people. So all these little factors go into flexible work arrangements, remote work, 4-day work week, all the things we're trying to move towards. So it's a common change that I'm helping organizations do right now. Let's take that situation and put it into this Eisenhower matrix that has been twisted a little bit towards change and people's energy in that moment. So remote flex work, let's take the top right corner. So that's high urgency, high energy. That means it's going to take a lot of effort to complete this, but it's also very important as part of the process. It has to be done in order to get flexible work, remote work. So these are tasks critical to the success and effort of the outcome we want. This will be like policies. So this is going to be equity across employees and departments. Are we treating everyone fairly? This is going to be system updates and system integrations. This is going to be IT security, because now you're going outside of your home office network. Very critical things to business, because that could take you down, right? Compliance issues with people, security issues in your network can take a company down. So these are very critical, urgent things that need to be addressed, and it's going to take some energy from multiple departments. So this is going to be in your top right corner. This means immediate leadership attention. So this means a leader is guiding the timeline, a leader is allocating the resources for it. So heavy involvement from leadership. Let's move to the top left. This is going to be high urgency but low energy. So it doesn't take a lot of effort. These are critical, but you can do, if you're having a low afternoon, you can do sometime this week. It's still urgent to do this week, but there's some wiggle room there. So this will be communication of how flexible work will roll out in your department. How is it going to work between pass-offs across departments? This might be surveys to take. What are people concerned about? What do they need at home? What hurdles do they see as they roll out flexible work arrangements or even shared desk situations? These are admin tasks, like setting up how we do payroll, new payroll codes. So things, again, they're urgent. You have a little bit more wiggle room for space, and they're just kind of like tasks and activities. So they're not as critical as policies and IT systems. They're more just tasks. Let's move now to the lower right corner. So this is low urgency, but it takes some effort. It takes involvement of people. So it's a little bit more labor intensive, but not time sensitive. And this will be gaining skills for hybrid work, gaining leadership skills for having a hybrid workforce. So how do you address teams when they're working remotely? How do you stay connected with them so they don't get isolated? This is remodeling maybe the office space for shared desks, or the office space so people can pop in and maybe they don't need an office, they just need a space to park in. How do you distribute office supplies? How do you go about printing things? All those type of small wins. It takes effort, but it's not super urgent, so we can get to it. And these are going to be your moral building wins. So these are going to be it's something small, but it moves it feels like it's bigger because you just went over the hill and you can see a little bit more of the horizon. You got over one more hurdle, and now you know you can get over a hurdle. So these are like very nice wins for a team when they start happening. Usually they're pretty visual as well. So let's go to the lower left, and that is low urgency, low energy. So this might be things where people are resisting change now, or there's a lot of change happening in the timeline. So low energy, people are kind of checking out or isolating or figuring out, where they fit in this new world of work, or of work process, or of work product. But it's not really urgent either. So these are our nice to haves. These are the areas or tasks within the change timeline that will create team bonding, but they're not super urgent. So this might be, do we have templates for everyone to use when they're doing flexible work so we're not recreating the wheel every time Kelly's in the office? Is everyone cohesive so we're not recreating things depending who's in the office? Are these, how are we marketing our flexible hybrid workforce now so we can recruit top talent? All these things are low urgency, low energy, so they're nice to have, but they're not needed to do flexible work. So by taking all these tasks in your change timeline that you have to do, for example, the flexible work, and placing them into these boxes will help guide you on where energy will be spent in this timeline, where when energy is exhausted, where you can shift and keep the timeline moving. It will help dissect the pieces of the task so that one department is not super heavy and one department isn't participating when it affects both stakeholders. So top right, high energy, high urgency, you're gonna need immediate leadership attention. Top left is high urgency, low energy, automate it, get a third-party resource to do it, or strategically place it where the energy is going to be low in that timeline, but it can still get done and not hold back the project. Lower right is high energy, but low urgency. Those are going to be your morale boosters. And then lower left is going to be low energy, low urgency, and you're going to want to either postpone it, eliminate it, or possibly just wait till the whole change timeline is done, and then you can roll it out. A nice to have. Understanding where all the tasks are placed is going to help you re-energize the workforce instead of slamming them with the heavy stuff all at once. Now let's move to the next part of this path to progress, which is agile change and the trail map there. So a lot of times when we change something, let's just go with a software. We're going to update our software to this new software plan. And we know that we have to because everyone knows it's clunky and keeps complaining about it. But what does that trail map look like? Are we rolling it out just in one department and working out some of the kinks and then rolling it out to everyone else? Are we rolling it out to everyone else and everything's going down for 2 weeks? What does this look like? And creating that picture of what is the trail will allow people to veer off of it a little bit and come back. It will allow people to adapt when we run into challenges and hurdles, and still be there. And doing frequent check-ins will allow you to accommodate for new tools, new conversations that are coming up, or things you weren't aware of going into this project. And that's part of kind of project management is those frequent check-ins will allow you to adapt before something is completely off track, off timeline, off budget, that now it's a disaster. So in change, we want to make sure that we're protecting a space that we're still going to hit the goal, but we can have some variations of how we get there. So creating an agile change trail map is going to give the vision to people of where we're going, keep them on board, but also having those small milestones to reset along the way. Now, the last one I want to go over today is in our coaching and communication. When you are in change management, you do need to coach a little bit more frequently, but it doesn't have to be hour-long meetings. So still host your one-on-ones, talk about those value add questions, things going on in your operation, but in the change time, it might just be a 5-minute or less conversation to do a check-in. It might be a 5-minute or less conversation to make sure someone is still on track without being micromanaging. And these are called micro moment coachings. So you're going to want to acknowledge, align, and act, and do that in like 3 to 5 minutes. So it's not a big conversation. So do you see it's like a pass-through type of conversation, not our one-on-ones, closed door type of discussions. So micro moment coaching. So say you have a work style like an S and they're resisting change and they're the only ones that haven't signed on to this new software to trial it out, and we need them to trial out to make sure we work out all the bugs before we go live. All right. You can have a micro moment coaching, so it's not a big thing. It doesn't intimidate them, and you can acknowledge their resistance. You can acknowledge the concerns that they're having. You can do that in like 1 minute or less. Then you realign on the importance of this change. Hey, we have to do this software because this doesn't link to that, and this is so manual, and we have people working from home that can't access it. And you go through all the intricacies of why this change is happening in the first place. Link it back to their position as much as possible, and then action. So this is where you're going to suggest an immediate next step. And I want you to shift that just a little bit to a coaching moment. So I want you to not suggest, here's what you can do, Jimmy. Here's what you can do, Kelly, and suggest the next step. That's micromanagement. That's telling them what to do. I want you to have a coaching moment to ask them, what steps would you want to take right now? What steps do you think would make this successful? What options do you have so we can continue moving this timeline forward? Do you see how it's pulling the information from them? It's coaching them to critically think, okay, this process is happening. What is my next steps? What is my next options? So that action is going to suggest the next immediate step. So doing this quick micro moment coaching will acknowledge and validate their concerns, because there is concerns in change, right? And then realign, so we're all on the same trail, just like I was talking about in the beginning. And then what is the action? So that someone owns something going forward, and I want you to make sure that it's the employee that owns it. As leaders, as people that coach, the moment you tell people what to do, you own that more than they do. So when you can move to the pull of asking them what options they have, what's the next steps they need to take, they own that, and they'll take control of it. So the action actually lies with the employee. Moving from this micromanagement to coach stage is going to be important to get people talking so they're not isolating or exiting during the change process. Now, the last thing that you want to consider on this path to progress and strategies to drive change is space. So I talk a lot on my YouTube channel about time management techniques, productivity optimization, and workflow, and it shouldn't be used as a weapon. It should be used as a tool to gain space so we can change, so we can explore different softwares, techniques, and different ways to do things and innovate and create. But if you fill it with more activities, if you use that time management and productivity optimization to just fill it with more activities, you're not really gaining what you set out for. You're just squishing the creativity and innovation with more noise. So give the space so that we can lead the change, so that we can see what are the steps that we're going to take next in this change. And what I see currently in clients is they're going through a change like software integration. They're going through a change like this flexible work for their workforce or 4-day work week. And they're not giving space to work on that. So they're going through a change, a transition in their culture, and they're giving no space for that change. So when they talk about steps not moving forward, well, you haven't given anyone time to think. Time for conversation. Time to do that Eisenhower matrix energy plot. Time for analyzing our stakeholders. Time for creating that agile change map so everyone knows where we're going. And when you can just back up and breathe a little bit during this process, and I'm talking like, it could be 2 hours over 2 weeks, right? However you want to piece that for this change initiative, the whole dynamics change because you've given people space to think, space to brainstorm, space to have those critical and genuine conversations to get everyone on board, which will save you so much heartache in the long term. And so the path to progress is really, how are we going to navigate, communicate, build trust through it in a way that's not going to refill their plates and create that disdain and resentment for the change. And we can do that through predicting behaviors like DISC. We can do that through the Eisenhower matrix, energy check-ins, and plotting tasks that way. We can do that through creating that trail map that has some agility to it to sway left or right if we need to and reroute. And then the micro moment coaching questions to make sure that everyone is on board and not left behind.
I know you're not lazy. Most people in burnout are high performers, those serving others before themselves. Don't discount this step today, the action in which you focus on your self-growth. Piecing together the puzzle is half the journey. Rediscovering yourself, energy, and establishing new habits is the other. Do not underestimate the untapped inner strength inside you. Explore more resources on my website to move from zombie mode back to liveliness. See you soon.